Hi friends, it's great to see you on our channel. I hope you're crazy about California too, because today you are going to see the greatest selection of crazy California laws from ancient times to today. But before I start, I really ask you to subscribe to the channel. Just click on the first link in the description. I really want 1,000 subscribers. Please help me! Let's get started, shall we?
California isn't just Hollywood, beaches, and startups. Here in the heart of the Golden State, there is a history that goes deep into the past, a history of the tribes that first inhabited this land. Today, I'm going to tell you about 25 strange but absolutely true facts about the indigenous people of California that will definitely surprise you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a comment. Which fact surprised you the most? Your feedback helps us create even more interesting content. Let's start with the general. California was home to over 100 different tribes, and each tribe was unique. For example, did you know that some tribes use seashells as money? Yes, the real currency of the ocean. And the Yana tribe had a language with 4 dialects, including a separate female language. The Chumash built redwood canoes called tamal, using a glue made of tar and charcoal. Many tribes in California, including the Miuk, believe their ancestors came from the underworld through cracks in the earth. Now let's learn about their incredible culinary inventions. The staple of many tribes was the acorn. Yes, an ordinary acorn, but turning it into flour is a science. But the Paiute tribe had their own delicacy: dried grasshoppers. Who would have thought it would be so popular? Did you know that some tribes collected insect larvae from local hot springs and considered them a delicacy? And the Miuk tribe was famous for making wild onion and mint soup. An unusual combination, isn't it? Even more interestingly, the Chumash knew how to store fish in salted seaweed, which kept it fresh for months. Some tribes also made bread from plant roots that could be stored for years. And of course, their ability to collect and utilize honey from wild bees is a true art form. Another interesting fact: the Chumash collected seaweed and dried it for the winter. What about fermented cactus drinks? These drinks were made by collecting the juice of cacti, which was then left to ferment naturally. They were used not only as a nutritious and refreshing drink, but also in ritual ceremonies related to spiritual practices or festivals. Agreed, it sounds exotic. The Chumash were true masters of navigation. They built canoes called tamal, using tar and charcoal, and their space maps carved into rocks showed the movement of the stars and moon. Isn't that ancient science? Some tribes created elaborate systems of fire and smoke signals to communicate over long distances. The Chumash had a tradition of weaving special mats that were used in ritual ceremonies. The Yurok tribe believed that large trees were the homes of spirits and held rituals to propitiate them. Some tribes used the soft bark of trees to make clothing, turning it into cloth. The Hoopa tribe had a ritual connected with rivers. They believed that water could purify the soul and regularly held ceremonies by the water. And more about art. The Pomo tribe made baskets that could hold water. These baskets were woven from very fine and strong fibers, such as willow or sedge roots, which were carefully prepared and dried. The unique weaving technique made them completely waterproof, allowing them to be used for storing liquids and cooking. Such baskets not only served practical purposes, but also had cultural significance, as each one could be decorated with intricate designs reflecting the mythology and history of the tribe. The technique of weaving them is simply magic. The beliefs of the tribes of California are a separate universe. For example, the Chumash believed they were descended from twin brothers created by the moon from the ocean. And the Hoopa tribe had an interesting legend about lightning that cleanses the earth of evil spirits. The Miwok tribe had a legend about a great bird that brought light to the world, defeating the eternal darkness. The Paiute tribe believed the mountains were the remains of giant creatures who had fallen in an ancient battle. The Yurok held purification ceremonies in caves, believing them to be portals to the netherworld. The Chumash had a tradition of offering gifts to the ocean to placate the sea spirits. Some tribes considered comets to be signs of coming changes, both good and bad. Another curious belief: some tribes believed that earthquakes were caused by the movement of a giant snake under the earth. They believed that this snake lived deep beneath the surface of the earth and that every tremor or movement caused the ground to shake. This creature was thought to be a spirit that guarded the underworld, but would sometimes get angry or change position, which caused earthquakes. This myth not only explained natural phenomena, but also inspired respect for the forces of nature, which the tribes tried to pacify through special rituals. The houses of the Chumash are a real work of art. They built them from cedar bark, creating spacious dwellings that could accommodate up to 50 people. Imagine, a whole small village under one roof. But the Yurok tribe built rectangular houses with tiny entrances. Yes, very small. The reason? So that evil spirits would apparently stumble at the threshold and change their minds about coming in. Such a simple, but you must agree, ingenious way to protect yourself from unwanted guests. Or, for example, the tradition of sleeping with one's feet toward the fire to protect oneself from attacking spirits. Even little things like that show how deep their beliefs were. It's funny how this echoes modern habits of sleeping with the lights on or the sound of white noise to avoid feeling lonely or safer. Unlike spirits, though, today we are more likely to protect ourselves from night terrors brought on by watching horror movies or scrolling through social media before bed. Despite the past, many traditions are still alive today. For example, some tribes still use their languages to translate movies. Yes, even Star Wars is in the Navajo language. If you think about it, it's like modern dubbing on Netflix, only with added cultural heritage. And the Chumash tribe has their own festivals dedicated to the ocean and ancestors. Sort of a tribal Coachella, but with a deep respect for tradition and nature. So California is not only a modern metropolis, but also a place where the unique history of indigenous peoples is preserved. Their traditions, beliefs, and way of life is something that inspires us and makes us think. If you enjoyed this journey into the world of ancient traditions, don't forget to give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell. California is not only Hollywood, beaches, and palm trees, but also a treasure trove of weird laws. Today I will tell you about 7 of the craziest rules that apply in this sunny state. For example, did you know that in California it is forbidden to eat frogs that died in the jumping competition? It's also strictly forbidden to eat oranges. In the bathtub. Yes, in the bathtub. Who made that rule? But that's not all. In Orange County, roosters can't leave the house on Sundays. Apparently, birds have their days off too. Before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Here you'll learn the craziest laws from around the world. All right, let's go, shall we? Frogs that die in jumping competitions cannot be eaten. This rule stems from famous frog jumping competitions, such as the Calaveras County Jumping Frog Jubilee, which is held annually in Calaveras County. These competitions, inspired by Mark Twain's story, The Famous Jumping Frog of Calaveras, draw participants and spectators from all over the country. A law was passed to protect the frogs that participate in these events and prohibits the consumption of those that fail the challenge. Have you eaten frogs? If so, post a comment. If not, put a like. Garages in Long Beach are supposed to be storage for things, not just cars. The law requiring garages in Long Beach to be used for their original purpose of storage, not just parking cars, is for several reasons. Many owners in Long Beach have begun converting their garages into living quarters, studios, offices, or even storage for businesses. This has led to congested residential neighborhoods, reduced available parking space, and violations of zoning regulations. They're the ones who didn't see my garage, and you have a lot of stuff in your garage. Write about it in the comments. The law is intended to ensure that residential neighborhoods remain residential and that garages are used to store personal belongings and cars, not for commercial or illegal activities. Not using garages for storage causes yards and streets to become cluttered. People start storing things on the street, in yards, or even in parking lots, which degrades the visual aesthetics of the city. Garages that are converted into living quarters or storage units sometimes do not meet fire safety codes and can pose a threat to residents and neighbors. This policy helps to maintain order and safety in Long Beach and to control the use of residential zones. Dirty cars are prohibited in Beverly Hills. Beverly Hills has a law against driving dirty cars, and while it sounds strange, it has a perfectly logical explanation. Beverly Hills is a symbol of luxury, wealth, and aesthetics. The city is famous for its well-maintained streets, expensive stores, and impressive mansions. Dirty cars do not fit into this image, and can spoil the overall impression of the city. I also like driving a clean car. It seems that it even drives better. Do you have this feeling too? Write about it in the comments. Beverly Hills is a popular tourist destination. The authorities try to do everything to make the city look perfect for visitors because it is associated with Hollywood, celebrities, and luxury. Clean cars on the streets help maintain this reputation. Although the law is not directly related to the environment, environmental care plays an important role in California. Washing cars regularly prevents the buildup of dirt and harmful substances that can be released into the atmosphere or water sources. Dirty cars can leave traces of sand, oil, or other contaminants, increasing the burden on the city's cleaning services. The ban helps minimize such effects. If your car is so dirty that it is noticeable to others, you can be fined. Of course, it is not a matter of light dust, but serious dirt, such as dried mud, oil marks, or bird droppings, can attract the attention of the police or inspectors. You can't eat oranges in the bathtub. The ban on eating oranges in the bathtub sounds like one of the most bizarre and mysterious laws in California. However, despite its absurdity, there are several theories as to why such a law might have come about. One theory is that while eating oranges, people may have thrown the peel or residue down the sink or bathtub drain. This could have clogged pipes and caused sewage problems. The ban was intended to prevent these situations. Another theory has to do with the fact that oranges contain acid, which if splashed on electrical appliances often used in bathrooms, such as hair dryers and electric razors, could cause them to break or, in rare cases, short circuit. Some believe the law may have been related to a desire to keep the bathroom a place solely for personal hygiene. Consuming food, especially oranges, could have resulted in juice stains or stickiness, which was against sanitary requirements. There is a possibility that this law was originally created as a joke or odd technicality that later remained in the legislation, although it was never enforced by anyone. Many old laws passed back in the 19th and 20th centuries may not have had any practical application initially, but over time became part of city or state mythology. Oranges have a strong odor that may be pleasant, but in the confined space of a bathroom, it may have irritated other people living in the house. This aspect may have also influenced the formation of this prohibition. Why do you think this law came into being? Write about it in the comments. Most likely, this law has not been enforced for a long time and exists only in archives or urban anecdotes. But it continues to amaze and amuse, and remains an example of how strange rules can be. In Orange County, roosters can't leave the house on Sunday. Subscribe to the channel and put a bell to not miss anything. We will continue to look at the unusual laws in California. Remember that in the last video we learned about the existence of a ban on eating oranges in the bathroom, the prohibition of eating frogs, the obligation to wash cars and control garages. If you haven't seen it, you can watch it at the link. Now let's continue to find out why you can't let roosters out on Sundays, how you can't hunt ducks, and what's so bad about garden figurines. Let's go. In Orange County, roosters can't leave the house on Sunday. Orange County's ban on roosters leaving the house on Sunday is one of those strange laws that sounds ridiculous, but has historical and cultural roots. Roosters are known for their loud crowing that can be a nuisance to neighbors, especially in the morning hours. Have you heard the voice of roosters? I've never heard one. I guess in my neighborhood, they stay indoors all days, not just on Sunday, poor animals. On Sunday, traditionally considered a day of rest or religious observance, local officials may have wanted to reduce noise and keep residential neighborhoods quiet. Orange County, like many other regions of the United States, has been influenced by Christian traditions in the past, where Sunday was considered a day of rest and prayer. The law may have been enacted to honor the spirit of the day by eliminating any unnecessary disturbance, including loud noises from pets. If roosters often walked outside the house and caused a nuisance to neighbors, it could have caused conflicts. The law may have sought to address these situations by requiring pet bird owners to keep them indoors at least once a week. Orange County was once known for its farms. Roosters and chickens were an important part of rural life, but over time, as urbanization increased, such laws may have been enacted to restrict agricultural habits in residential areas. This law may also have served as a reminder to owners to care for their animals responsibly, including controlling their movement and noise. Today, this law is likely not strictly enforced, but is seen as a curio. However, its existence emphasizes the commitment of local authorities to maintaining order in the past. Laws regarding pet behavior are not uncommon. For example, some cities in the United States prohibit keeping too many chickens in one yard, or conversely, require special permits to keep them. You cannot attract ducks with music decoys. The ban on attracting ducks with music, also called the ban on musical decoys, sounds like a joke, but it actually has good reason. This law is about hunting and wildlife protection. Are any of you hunters out there? If so, post a comment. Using music or other unusual methods to attract ducks is considered an unethical way to hunt because it disrupts the natural balance between hunter and prey. Music can mislead animals into moving closer to hunters, making the hunt unfair and too easy. In the past, when hunting was an important part of life, hunters looked for ways to maximize their catches, including the use of sounds or musical lures. This could lead to the mass killing of ducks, damaging bird populations. The law was put in place to limit such practices and preserve the sustainability of the species. Laws regulating hunting often include rules aimed at making hunting as fair as possible. Using music or recorded sounds for decoys is considered a violation of these regulations. Ducks play important roles in ecosystems, such as helping to control insect populations and maintaining the biodiversity of water bodies. Attracting them with music can interfere with their natural behavior and threaten the ecosystems where they live. This law most often affects hunters and applies to places where hunting is allowed. Musical baiting can refer to special devices that produce sounds, as well as the use of musical instruments such as flutes or radios. Similar laws exist for other animals. For example, some states prohibit the use of light traps to hunt nocturnal animals or odors to attract bears. This underscores regulators' commitment to maintaining fair hunting conditions. Redwood City has banned the use of garden gnomes to decorate public areas. The city of Redwood City, located in California, has a rather unusual rule that prohibits the use of garden gnomes to decorate public areas. At first glance, it seems completely absurd, but there is a curious history and logic behind this law. Redwood City is known for its commitment to creating a harmonious urban environment. City officials believe that garden gnomes, which often look bright, cartoonish, or even comical, can disrupt the overall aesthetic appearance of public spaces such as parks, squares, or streets. This ban is intended to maintain a unified and neat style of urban infrastructure. In the 1990s, a movement for visual cleanliness in public spaces emerged in Redwood City. Residents began complaining that garden ornaments, including gnomes, were creating visual clutter and detracting from the natural beauty of the city's parks and architecture. Legend has it that a local business company decided to install a collection of garden gnomes in the park for promotional purposes, which caused a storm of discontent among residents. People considered it an interference in public space and appealed to the city administration. As a result, a decision was made to ban the use of such decorations in public places. This law prohibits the installation of garden gnomes as well as other similar decorative figures in parks, on city streets, squares, and other public areas. However, the use of gnomes on private property, such as in personal gardens, remains completely legal. Some residents consider the ban too strict and incongruous. They argue that elements such as garden gnomes add playfulness and coziness to urban spaces. Others support it, believing that public spaces should remain as neutral and professionally decorated as possible to avoid turning the city into a taste fair. Over time, the garden gnome law has become a local thing attracting tourists. Some stores in Redwood City even sell gnome-shaped souvenirs with captions like "Gnome on the Run" or "I'm an illegal decorator." And residents once set up a giant inflatable gnome in the center of town to protest the law. It caused a loud outcry, but the decoration was quickly removed. To date, the law remains in effect, although there are periodic discussions about repealing it. Despite all this, garden gnomes have become part of Redwood City's unofficial culture, even if they can't be seen in public places. So the ban on garden gnomes may seem ridiculous, but it reflects the local government's desire to maintain an orderly and unique urban environment. Well, now you know that in California you can't eat oranges in the bathroom. It's illegal to attract ducks with music, and dirty cars in Beverly Hills can be a real problem. Each of these laws sounds like a joke, but they are reality. Sure, many of them haven't been enforced for a long time, but the very fact that they exist makes us smile and wonder, who came up with this and why? If you like this video, don't forget to put a like and write in the comments which of the laws seem the strangest to you. And be sure to subscribe to the channel. Here we regularly discuss the most absurd and funny laws from around the world.
Hey everybody, have you ever been to California? If so, in which city? In this video, I'm going to talk about the seemingly simple rules you should not break in this state. If you want to know about the state's unique and crazy laws, watch the video to the end. Also, kudos for subscribing to the channel. So let's start with the car because you're driving, right? If you're a fan of talking on the phone, it's best not to do it while driving. You can use a hands-free car kit and phone holder to make it safer for everyone around you and your wallet. California also has strict speed limits, especially in school zones. If you have kids, you know this is an important rule. Having a nice glass of wine with lunch is okay in California, but only if you are at least 21 years old. But there are some other fun restrictions. For example, in Santa Cruz, it is illegal to ride down the street drunk on a bike. If you move to California, you must register your vehicle within 20 days. Failure to do so can result in a fine of up to $500. The same goes for marijuana, which is legal here if you're 21. You can carry up to 1 ounce, 28 grams. But do not use it in your car or in public places. It is strictly forbidden. Also, alcohol and tobacco you can only buy if you are 21 years old. Use in public places is prohibited. Wait for an event, such as a festival. If you like to walk naked on the street, go to the Folsom Street Fair. Otherwise, the cops will be on you. If your dog is misbehaving, don't scold it in California because you might be considered cruel to animals and you won't get away with a fine. Funny, the city of Los Angeles has a rule that a dog can't bark for more than 10 minutes in a row. Violators can be fined up to $500. I love that the state cares about animals and the environment. It's mandatory to sort your trash here, and you won't find plastic bags in stores. Instead, you'll be offered paper or reusable bags. There are no plastic straws in restaurants. Oh, how to drink my favorite cocktail. In 2018, California passed a law restricting the use of plastic straws in restaurants. According to the law, they can only be provided upon customer request. In Santa Barbara County, a restaurant owner accidentally put a plastic straw in a drink without waiting for a customer to request it. This was noticed by a local inspector, and the owner was fined $1,000. Although the fine was appealed and reduced, the law resonated and became an example of strict regulation of environmental issues. Some cities, such as Beverly Hills, have banned plastic forks and spoons. Also, if you love your lawn, you should know that there is a restriction on the use of water for irrigation. You may receive a check for a large sum. In Beverly Hills, a man who wanted to keep his green lawn in perfect condition used huge amounts of water every day despite the restrictions. He was discovered by inspectors and eventually fined $10,000. The case showed how seriously officials take conservation. What's your dog like? Does he like to run? Then you need to look for special places where dogs can be walked off leash, and there are not many of them. Also, never leave animals alone in the car. It is very dangerous for animals, especially in the heat. In California, you will get a fine. Here is a real-life example that happened in Los Angeles. Passers-by noticed a dog sitting in a parked car suffering from the heat. Without waiting for the police, they broke the window and called for help. When the owner returned, he was fined $500 for leaving the animal in dangerous conditions. This case was controversial. On the one hand, the animal was saved, but on the other hand, the owner tried to justify that he was only gone for 5 minutes. Bottom line, this case reminded many people of the need to strictly follow animal safety regulations. What do you think about gun laws? In California, you need a special permit to carry a gun, so you might want to leave your Colt at home. If you like California and want to live here, you should know that camping in public places is highly restricted. In Venice, Los Angeles, a group of homeless people set up a makeshift tent camp on the sidewalk. Local residents complained, and authorities had to intervene. But activists said the police action was unfair because the homeless had no other place to go. Bottom line, this case highlighted the complexity of homelessness in California. With this in mind, it is better to rent an apartment and look for a job. If you rent, be aware that residential neighborhoods have strict nighttime quiet laws. In San Diego, neighbors filed a complaint against a woman who sang karaoke loudly on her balcony at night. Police officers warned her repeatedly, but after the third call, she was arrested for disorderly conduct. Bottom line, she was fined $1,000, and the case served as a reminder to respect the rights of neighbors. But there are also laws that protect you, such as restrictions on sudden evictions. In San Jose, a landlord refused to give receipts to tenants who paid cash. After a lawsuit was filed, he not only had to return the money, but was also fined $15,000. So let's say you found a place to live, then you need to find a job. The state of California guarantees that all workers, regardless of immigration status, have the right to fair pay and safe working conditions. Discrimination based on race, gender, orientation, religion, and other factors is also prohibited. Fun fact, if your boss doesn't give you a break, he can be fined $100 for each missed lunch. California also has its own unique, some might say strange laws. For example, you can't wash your car at home. Only professional car washes are allowed. Feeding pigeons is prohibited, especially in public places. In San Francisco, feeding pigeons is considered a public nuisance because it attracts more birds, creates filth, and can spread disease. Case study. A woman in San Francisco was arrested after repeatedly feeding pigeons in a local park despite numerous warnings. She claimed that she could not bear to see the birds starving. But city officials reminded her that such behavior harms the ecosystem and disturbs neighbors. Bottom line, she was fined $500, and the case sparked a heated debate on social media. Masks in the street are prohibited. The only exceptions are medical or holiday masks. Forget riding your bike in the pool. In the city of Fresno, you will be fined for attempting extreme sports in bodies of water. You can't dance without a license. In Carmel, dancing in restaurants requires a special permit to avoid conflicts. I talk about these and other strange laws in the video, link in the upper right corner. Friends, it looks to me like California is a wonderful place with fair laws. What do you think? Write in the comments. Did you like the selection? Write in the comments which law surprised you the most. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the bell to not miss new interesting videos. Today, we're going to tell you about 14 of California's strangest laws that are both shocking and hilarious. Let's get started. You can't wash the machine with dirty underwear? Who would think of doing something like that? In California, it is strictly illegal to wash a car with dirty men's underwear. This law makes you laugh rather than wonder, because it's hard to imagine that anyone would dare to clean their car this way. Probably no one has ever been arrested for using dirty men's underwear to wash a car. This law sounds like a legal curiosity, the result of a bizarre incident, or simply a way of outlining certain standards of behavior. Such laws often remain on paper, but are not put into practice. Another nuance of this law is that women's underwear is not technically mentioned in the law. So technically using it to wash the car might be allowed. However, your wife is unlikely to be pleased if you use her underwear. And in real life, it is worth considering how such behavior will be perceived by others. No hunting from a vehicle unless it's a whale. You heard right. You can't hunt from a car unless your target is a whale. Although when you think about it, it's unlikely that anyone would be able to hunt a whale from a car. This law is probably a relic of the past, with poor wording. You can't ride your bike in the pool. Riding a bicycle in the pool? Yes, it's strictly forbidden in Balboa County. This law is clearly put in place to prevent injuries and damage to public pools. It seems to me that since empty pools often have smooth surfaces and sloping walls, they can attract extreme sports enthusiasts like BMX riders or skateboarders. However, this can lead to pool damage or accidents. So friends, take care of yourself and use specialized sports facilities. A ban on kissing toads. In California, it is illegal to kiss toads. This law may have been enacted to protect animals or prevent possible infections, or as a humorous response to popular fairy tales such as The Toad Prince, where the heroine kisses a frog in the hope that it will turn into a prince. This may have inspired some people to literally try such a thing in real life, leading to the need for an official ban. But if you're still hoping to find a toad princess or a prince, then California is not the best place. Restrictions on miniature slingshots. It is illegal to own miniature slingshots in Los Angeles. I wonder how they are more dangerous than regular ones. The law leaves more questions than answers. Animals should not be allowed on the road unattended. This law is one of the most logical. If you let your pet out on the road, it can lead to an accident. So keep your four-legged friends supervised. Such rules are not unique to California. Many other states in the U.S. have similar laws to protect animals and public safety. However, in California, with its heavy traffic and large number of cars, this law is especially relevant. The law protects both animals and people by preventing tragic accidents and road rage. It reminds owners that caring for pets includes taking responsibility for their safety. Men with mustaches can't kiss women. Once upon a time in California, men with mustaches were forbidden to kiss women. The reason was probably fear of skin irritation. This law seems like a joke, but it really existed. You can't wear cowboy boots without two cows. This law protects the cowboy image. If you don't have at least two cows, you might as well leave your cowboy boots at home. This law may have come about as a way to protect the image of the cowboy as a farmer or rancher. In the past, cowboy boots were associated with people who worked with cattle, not with fashion trends or city dwellers. This law is likely never strictly enforced. If someone wears cowboy boots without cows, they are unlikely to face punishment. It's more of a curio that's left in the legislation. You can't use mousetraps without a hunting license. You won't believe this, but in California, setting a mousetrap is considered an act of hunting. So, without the proper license, it's against the law. You can't bail out your children. Seems obvious, but just in case, California has a law against using your children as collateral. In the past, when legal systems were first forming, transactions could be made with any means available, including family members. Children were sometimes used as guarantors to meet debt obligations, especially in times of economic hardship. In some cultures, children could even be mortgaged into slavery or debt. In feudal times, such practices were part of the debt relationship. In the modern world, this law seems redundant, since it is obvious that no one would pledge children. Nevertheless, it shows how the law responded to the realities of the past. Holiday lights cannot be turned on after Feb. 2. In San Diego, it is a violation to turn on holiday lights after February 6th. This rule is in place to conserve electricity and maintain order. Don't feed the birds on the beach. Many beaches in California prohibit feeding birds to prevent overcrowding and unsanitary conditions. Birds become dependent on human food instead of seeking out their usual food. Birds accustomed to being fed become aggressive, attacking people, snatching food, and causing discomfort. Food waste and bird droppings pollute the sand and water, degrading the sanitation of the beach. Fines can be imposed for violating the ban, and in some places, fines can range from $100 to $500. In specially protected natural areas, the fine may be higher. Feeding birds may seem harmless, but it has serious consequences for both the environment and people. You are not allowed to let animals out of the jail. If an animal is accidentally imprisoned, it can't just be released. Apparently, the law protects secure facilities from unwanted guests. The law against letting animals out of jail sounds